Well, here we are, an FP1 video complimenting Formula 1 in 2024. Bet you didn't see that one coming. When it comes to decision making, I think it's fair to say that Formula 1 management, the FIA, even the event organisers, have a bit of a shaky track record. You've got inflating ticket prices, so the only way to attend the British Grand Prix was to have bought some Bitcoin back in 2013, seeing everyone hate sprint races and deciding let's just add some more, the entire turbo hybrid era, and then, yeah, you know my history. It's a nice breath of fresh air then when something comes up that everyone appears to be getting behind, which, a bit like reverse grids, probably means we're never going to get it at all, but let's talk about this rumoured rookie F1 race in Abu Dhabi. Formula 1 have been considering an additional event following the conclusion of the 2024 season, where rookie drivers will get the opportunity to pilot the top category of cars in real racing conditions. This would follow the standard post-season tests, which previously has been one of the only opportunities outside of FP1 sessions for reserve or academy drivers to get a taste of modern Formula 1 machinery. A post-season test, which, can I add, is promoted so well, I guarantee half of the people watching this video won't have realised it even existed in the first place. The sport has been on a push recently to give young drivers more opportunities to get behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car. The best example of which being the rule imposed ahead of the 2022 season, which forced teams into running junior talent in at least 2 FP1 sessions over the course of the year. A rule that has already given us moments such as Kimi Antonelli's first laps in the Mercedes Formula 1 car, and Kimi Antonelli's first meeting with the wall in a Mercedes Formula 1 car. It was incidents like these which made teams wary about running young drivers at all back in the day, and you can thank Antonio Giovinazzi for a lot of that. But realistically, a couple of practice sessions can hardly prepare a driver for the full extent of a Formula 1 race weekend. That's where the idea of a post-season sprint race comes into focus. From a logistical and cost cap standpoint, this already makes a lot of sense. The team's cars and equipment will already be at the track following the end of the season, and if, in the, let's be honest, highly likely scenario, one of these young guys proceeds to throw their new F1 car into the wall, their museum exhibit's already at this point. If anything, that young driver is just doing the mechanic's rapid disassembly process for them. The teams, meanwhile, can use this process as an even better means of evaluating the talent in their junior roster. Drivers like Mick Schumacher and Nick de Vries have gone on to show that just because you can win in Formula 2, it doesn't mean you'll be a competent Formula 1 driver. While the two series have certainly gotten closer in many aspects over the last decade or so, there's still a massive leap between racing on the final step of the junior ladder and Formula 1. It also gives the opportunity for drivers just about to make that jump to gain some extra experience before being thrown into their first Grand Prix. A trial run of sorts, where mistakes can be made and ironed out before you say, last 3 corners at Bahrain and then do a Romain Grosjean impression. These sprints then offer Formula 1 the opportunity to try out new things on their end as well. Time and time again, we've seen these half-baked ideas get thrown in at the deep end, only to fall on their face and make the organisers look more senile than Joe Biden. And while I'm sure we all think that of them anyway, having this test bed to experiment with ideas such as reverse grids or qualifying session formats or IEDs strapped to each driver's colon allows you the freedom to experiment with little to no consequence. Overall, this is just a fantastic idea for Formula 1. Hell, they could even promote this as an additional non-championship race and offer up reduced ticket prices to perhaps get in a new audience. Oh, what do you mean they've already been inflated? Perhaps that's a bit of false hope, but just by gauging the public perception of this move on social media, there's clearly a demand for it out there. If I'm honest, I'm struggling to see a potential downside, except maybe for the mechanics that do frankly need their winter at this point in the season. Then again, since when has Formula 1 cared about mental health anyway? I've realised this video has come out a tad shorter than intended, so let's have a bit of fun and try to speculate on which drivers a team might select to take part in the event. Since these will age poorly anyway, we won't apply any strict rules, besides that each driver must not have completed the full season in Formula 1. So to anyone hoping young driver Fernando Alonso is about to make an appearance, yeah, go f*** yourself. Starting off with Red Bull then, and frankly these guys have the biggest pool of drivers to choose from. Thankfully, they also have 2 teams to work with, so when it comes to deciding who's going to the main one, it's just a case of working out who they like the most. I'm going to select Liam Lawson and Isaac Hadjar here. Lawson obviously is firmly on the radar for a 2025 seat anyway, and this opportunity meanwhile simply gives him even more experience before making a proper debut with someone in 2025. I'm not going to speculate any further on that as I'll just be wrong anyway. Hadjar meanwhile looks set up to clinch this year's Formula 2 title, and since the team appear dead set on keeping the Mexican Minister of Mid for some reason, Isaac will replace Lawson as the top of Red Bull's bottleneck for 2026. Since we're on the subject of bottles, let's move on to McLaren. where I'm putting Pato O'Ward and Gabriel Bortoleto into their cars for this one. O'Ward is the last IndyCar driver standing when it comes to not realising the team will never hand over a full-time drive to any of those guys, and has been a regular staple of post-season and heritage car tests in the last few years. Bortoleto, meanwhile, provided he hasn't been snapped up by Sauber, would be a great fit given his promising showing in F2 as well this season. The Brazilian finds himself in the rather awkward position of being a highly promising junior with minimal routes to break into the top flight series of motorsport. The Papaya Army are pretty attached to their current driver pairing, and unless one of them decides to contract Daniel Ricciardo syndrome in the near future, I see no reason of changing that right now. A post-season race slot, therefore, might be enough to tempt Bortoleto to hang on in the short term, as let's be honest, who wants to race for Sauber anyway? Ferrari are next, and the first team where I'm struggling to place some drivers. Assuming Behrman will have already been released to Haas, their other reserve, Robert Schwartzman, could take up one seat, and alongside him we might as well place the next highest talent in the support series, Dino Beganovic. The Bosnian should really be stepping up to F2 anyway for 2025, and while I'm more convinced the only reason he's still in the program is due to his first name being Dino, I can't really see anyone else driving the Scarlet cars in an event like this. Hey, maybe they could bring Luca Badoa back. It's not like that went wrong last time, did it? Bobby Schwartz is another one who, let's be real, is not going to be getting a full-time F1 debut, but has been part of that team for a while, and may well end up being their top reserve driver next year, so some track time in case another of their drivers falls out with their appendix might not be such a bad idea. That takes us to Mercedes, and Kimi Antonelli is obviously filling one of those seats, with Fred Vesti in the other car. This was a tie-up between these two and F1 Academy racer Dorian Pan, but she doesn't know what a checkered flag is, and I'm not going to side with the French on this, am I? Antonelli goes in there so he can get one more crash out of the way ahead of his proper F1 debut next season, and Vesti makes the cut for the same reasons as Schwartzman before. Plus, I really like the guy. So Aston Martin, and I haven't got a fucking clue. Has Lawrence Stroll got any more kids lying around? I guess we're putting 2022 F2 champion Felipe Drugovich in one of those seats, and maybe Jessica Hawkins in the other car. That would scream more of PR than anything else. Druggy over here is massively overhyped, and while Hawkins did become the first woman in several decades to drive a modern F1 car, her W-Series performances didn't exactly set the world alight, did they? The only other option I can think of is their other junior driver, Jack Crawford, but I'm pretty certain they've already forgotten he exists. That takes us to RB then, and we now need to find some more Red Bull juniors that the team doesn't like quite as much. I was going to place Enzo Fittipaldi in here, but apparently he's not a Red Bull Junior anymore. So instead, let's go with Ayumu Iwasa and Arvid Lindblad. Iwasa was a mainstay in Formula 2 until this season, where he's been racing in Super Formula. The F1 dream is probably more dead than Margaret Thatcher at this stage, but it would still be cool to see how we get on in a real F1 race. For Lindblad, it's a slightly different story. The Briton has showed his stuff in F3 this year, and will be another hoping to find a spot in the F2 field for 2025. I can see this guy being a future Red Bull driver, so let's give him an early shot and see what he can do. Can't wait to read all the British bias comments around now. Haas are another tricky one. Ollie Behrman will take one seat, and the only other name I can think to put in the second car is F1 Academy affiliate Chloe Chambers. She'll probably be the only person in history to wear Haas overalls on a single-seater podium, so why not give her a shot? Behrman, meanwhile, kind of goes without saying, this just acts as more experience ahead of his debut in 2025. It's a similar situation for Alpine, who would run Jack Doohan in one car, with fellow junior Victor Martins making up their second entry. Jack slots in there for the same reasons as the other 2025 rookies, whilst Martins has had a bit of a weird F2 season, going from championship favourite to lover of DNFs in the space of a winter. A test like this might just act as the best opportunity to see if he's even still worth supporting on the junior ladder, or if it's time to switch focus to someone like Sophia Flörsch. Two teams to go, starting with Williams. Franco Colapinto makes sense to keep in one seat, given he's not contested the full season, and alongside him, let's put Jamie Chadwick. Her name has been the main one when it comes to the future of female racing talent, and after a much better season in Indy Next this year, may well be worth giving a shot in the Formula 1 car. It's obviously a risk that could backfire harder if she flounders following all the hype, but if that happens, then James Vowles can just turn in early for the night and get a bit more shagging time with Carlos Sainz. Finally then, who has to be forced into the Sauber? Well, the choice here I think is pretty simple. Teo Pourchaire and Zane Maloney. Pourchaire has had an up and down year, and this opportunity might just be enough to keep him off a suicide watch list. Meanwhile, Maloney, I think, has been a real star of the junior formulas this season, and deserves a shot in a Formula 1 car to really just show his potential. Those are obviously my picks, so let me know yours and give me that sweet engagement down in the comments below. I'm also curious to hear your thoughts on this format as a whole. What would you like to see changed? And how are F1 going to inevitably all this up? My money's on them refusing to broadcast the race to the public. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more. A huge thank you to the patrons and channel members who get early access to my content, so if that appeals to you, then head over to the links in the description down below. I'll be back soon with another video, but until then, have a good one.